didn't want to be a part of Hollywood anymore, basically. You wanted to you're here in New York. I'm also here in New York. You wanted to have a little bit less of like people in your private life and people wanting to see what's under there. Was there anything like were there any inciting incidents or were there any like real mental turning points where you decided, like, no, that's enough of that. I think I've had enough of that. I think I want a different life.
We all have these fears that come down to really our survival needs and instincts. If you like read about where all of our fears manifest from, it's really like, do I have a home? Can I put a roof over my head? Can I eat food? Am I healthy? It comes down to our
Mm-hmm.
basic survival instincts. And for me, I've always been really concerned about security. And I don't know why, right? I haven't like unpacked enough in my childhood to understand why. But for me, being in entertainment didn't feel secure in any way, shape, or form. And
Um,
Julie, I'm sure you know this, right? You have to get picked to be on
Right.
a show. And you can get fired the very next day. And there's very little security in the entertainment industry. And that to me always felt really like a very, very huge uphill battle.
Mhm.
And I thought, I don't always want to have to be picked. I want to be able to pick myself. And so I think in the same way that I did a lot of self-advocacy with doctors for them to hear me, I did that exercise with myself, right? When I considered what I wanted to do with my life because actually when I came to New York, I'm very passionate about cooking and nutrition. And I went to culinary school and my talent agents at the time were like, "You should be the next Martha Stewart. Like you should have a cooking TV show." So I went to culinary school, I got trained, I made so much food content and then Food Channel Cooking, after a lot of conversation, sort of getting into negotiations, changed their mind. They're like, actually, we're not interested in you as talent anymore.
oh wow.
And
Hmm.
it was really heartbreaking. And it was at that point that I started to become physically unwell, mentally unwell,
Hmm.
and eventually I started Love Wellness as the result, right? So it's like I had this quarter life crisis from a career perspective, and that was kind of the final straw. I was like, okay, I cannot rely on this industry that does not want me back. I
Huh.
have to do something with myself and create something for myself.
That's a mouthful. I similar. I mean, it is. There's like I just want to go a little deeper into that same hole. Like Hollywood, I'm a little bit of an appendage to it and not like in the heart of it the way that you were or Julie is, but it really is really shitty and it really
Mm.
feels really bad to be a part of.
It's
And
it's mean.
yeah, yeah. And so and because the irony to me is like you were like Hollywood feels too exposed, too risky, too painful. So I'm going to be an entrepreneur, which is also extremely exposing, risky, but not, but not at the same level. So you had your heart broken by this cooking show. And then is that literally what pushed you into mental and physical, I don't know what the word is, unwellness?
It's certainly contributed to it. The stress of that experience contributed to physical symptoms of discomfort that I was already beginning to experience. But any kind of trauma or stress definitely, raises your cortisol and exacerbates things that you are already feeling in your body, right?
Mm.
It takes something and it turns it into a hyper-inflammatory response in the body. And so, coming out of that experience, I was depressed, I was anxious, I was also going through a really bad breakup at the time. So
Oof.
Mm.
it's like,
Damn.
just keep piling things on top of one another.
Ugh.
And I was in a very bad place. But doctor after doctor was like, you're just depressed, you're just stressed out. It took 18 months from doctor's appointment one to doctor's appointment whatever, and a number of different specialists for somebody to run a basic blood panel to check my vitamin levels.
Are you
And
kidding? No.
Fair.
Nobody ran a basic blood panel for 18 months.
18 months.
That
And
is that is so unacceptable to me. I'm enraged. Did you not know to advocate for that at the time? Did you learn to
no,
advocate for that? That's
at the
insane.
time, I didn't know. And so I was in a cycle of just going to the doctor, here's Prozac, do some therapy, get exercise, etc. And I think it's because I'm a woman, women have to advocate differently for themselves and there's so many studies, right? If I go to the hospital and I say I'm in pain it's going to be evaluated differently than a man that comes to the hospital and says, I'm in pain. Like,
Mm.
that's just proven. That's a fact, right?
Mhm.
So I go to the doctor and they start to think that I am like a crazy person because I just keep coming back. I'm like, I'm unhappy, I'm unwell, I'm unhappy, I'm unwell. And at the same time, I was getting like UTIs and yeast infections. And I didn't realize it at the time, but once I started to work with very forward-thinking doctors who were open to new research, especially when it comes to gut health, that I started to get better and I started to find answers. So after 18 months of complaining, right, or self-advocating,
Right.
I finally get a doctor that's like, let's run a blood panel, let's check your vitamin levels. Comes back severe vitamin deficiencies. Severe, so severe the doctor was like, get your butt to the doctor's office right now. I need to stab you with vitamin B. I was like, okay.
And did you feel a difference right away?
Not immediately. It took more than a year to start to sort of level out and feel better. But then over time, I started to realize that my sexual health was connected to these vitamin deficiencies via my gut.
Hmm.
Gut health problems create vitamin absorbency issues,
Mhm.
and they also create sexual wellness issues for women because your gut microbiome is intrinsically linked to your vaginal microbiome via a process called quorum sensing. So the
Whoa,
bacteria in your
whoa.
gut,
Wait, slow. You literally, you're a font of information. Quorum, spell that?
quorum, QUORUMAM, quorum
Okay, quorum.
sensing.
Okay.
So, quorum sensing, imagine it like this. Imagine your gut bacteria are
Mhm.
holding little cell phones, and
Mhm.
your vaginal bacteria are holding little cell phones, and they're texting each other from the gut, being like, we're in great shape here in the gut. There's tons of us. There's a lot of diversity here and strains of bacteria. So, guess what? Vagina, you should be healthy too. You should be like reproducing to, create and maintain that acidic pH level that you need down there to prevent infection and overgrowth of all these weird pathogens and bacteria and stuff. But if your gut bacteria are not in good shape, what's going to be the effect in the vagina? It's also not going to be in good shape. The gut bacteria will literally text the vagina bacteria and be like, we're not in good shape. You're not in good shape either.
Mm.
And it is a phenomenon that is fascinating, but explains a lot of the reasons behind if you take a probiotic for women's health, like we
Mhm.
make a great one called Good Girl Probiotics, why the end result is fewer vaginal infections, UTIs, things like that, because the bacteria in one part of the body influence the bacteria in another part of the body in a completely different microbiome.